So far is one Don is in, one Don is out. Howard Rosenberg now joins us to tell us who's in and who's out. We know who's in, Don Shula. Who's the Don that's out?
Well, apparently Don Meredith is out, and O.J. Simpson, if not out, at least diminished. ABC has said that O.J. and Don Meredith will have at least diminished roles probably in the Super Bowl, January 20th.
Is that a punishment, do you think, for a poor performance, if that last year?
Well, yes and no. Television is a lot like sports. In sports, if a team does poorly, if the players do poorly, who gets fired? The manager. Same with the telecasting. If the ratings are bad, who gets fired? The talent. When the ratings are very good, Meredith was lauded, Howard Cosell was lauded, but ABC has had a pretty bad year, not just in sports. With the exception of the Olympics, their primetime schedule is way down in third place, and I think there's a sense of panic at the networks. Here you have the Super Bowl coming up, the most hyped event of the year. They're charging $525,000 for a 30-second spot.
Wow.
That's right. If the ratings are bad, they would have to make good, and I think they really want to juice up
so to
the
speak.
telecast. Yeah, that's right. They want to juice up the telecast. And one story is that Joe Seisman is going to have a very big part in the telecast, and possibly even his coach at Washington.
Joe Gibbs, yeah.
That's right.
Well, what about that? Ed Hoogstraten, the attorney who represents both O.J. Simpson and Don Meredith, said in Los Angeles last week if they replaced his two clients, they'd be doing it by replacing him with two amateurs.
Yes, well, Hoogstraten's nickname isn't the hook for nothing. It's very aptly applied. But I think this is really a mistake. I think people watch football games not because of the commentators, because of the games.
Sure.
And ABC's Monday night ratings indeed were down this year, but not because of the commentators. The games were just not very good.
It is a 6-hour Super Bowl broadcast.
Is that enough for you, Roy?
6 hours.
You wanted 7 or 8, maybe?
That's 1/4 of an entire day.
That's more they'd give World War III,
Wow. Well, I was thinking about this. Here are my subjects I think will be the most overused subjects for Super Bowl features. You ready for this? Montana versus Marino, the comparisons, right? Inevitable. Walsh comes back to Stanford. There's an 8-minute feature if I ever heard one, right? Walsh versus Shula. That's another head-to-head composition there. Gold Rush versus the Killer Bees. And then, of course, Freddie Solomon facing his old opponents, his old teammates, the Miami Dolphins.
Well, the key for ABC was Marino, was Miami winning. Marino already is becoming the most hyped person this side of the Super Bowl.
This side of Doug Flutie, anyway.
This side of Doug Flutie. He's only been around 2 years, after all. Let's give him some time before we call him the greatest.
Terry Bradshaw did yesterday. He said, without a doubt, the greatest football quarterback of all time, including himself. And he said the only athlete that he could compare him to would be Secretariat. That's right. kind of an unusual.
It's a little premature for that.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting football game, though. So far, I don't know if it'll live up to the hype, but it should be interesting.
It never lives up to the hype.
That's right. We'll be talking to you more about the Super Bowl in the next week, too. Thank you, Howard Rosenberg.